Series Evil Lynx 2, The Haunted Investigation, Episode 4, Spirit Summoning Ritual, The Horrific Mystery at the Medium's House on Lynx Street. Ash sighed, feeling like he'd just been teased, but didn't want to argue with Alyssa at the moment. So, what do you plan to do now? We're preparing to visit Lynn Lambert, a medium, to see if we can find any clues. It might help Camilla feel better, or it could advance the investigation. Who knows? Alyssa replied casually, but with a hint of mystery. Ash was a little surprised. Are you going with Camilla? Yeah. I'm not going to miss any chance to gather information, even if the medium's place is all the way in the remote Lynx district. Alyssa teased with a smile, then added lightly before hanging up. Oh, by the way, if you want to help, you could come with us. Ash stared at his phone's blank screen, feeling both uneasy and anxious about the investigation. Something about this case was far from simple, and his gut told him that more challenges lay ahead. He glanced over at his colleague, waiting for the surrounding area's camera footage, hoping to find more clues to track down the mystery. By noon, Alyssa and Camilla had arrived at the house of Lynn Lambert, a medium well known in spiritual circles, believed by many to communicate with the other side. The house was nestled in a quiet suburb, shrouded in a misty fog. As they passed through the old wooden gate, a heavy, ominous atmosphere immediately filled the air. Inside the house, the fragrant scent of incense mixed with the cold air. Mysterious statues and images of revered deities lined the room, adding to the eerie ambiance. Alyssa glanced at Camilla, noticing she seemed to be on the verge of extreme tension. Meanwhile, the medium, an elderly woman with silver hair and a gaunt face, slowly lit incense, preparing for a séance. When everything was ready, the medium began muttering prayers in a strange language that Alyssa couldn't understand. The room fell into an unsettling silence, broken only by the medium's whispers blending with the cold wind outside. Suddenly, a strong gust of wind blew through, making the entire room tremble and extinguishing the oil lamp on the altar. Startled, Alyssa felt a sharp chill brush against her skin. She shuddered, but said nothing, staring intently at the medium. At that moment, the medium's face started to change in a terrifying way. Her cloudy eyes seemed to grow deeper, darker, and her mouth twisted as if controlled by an invisible force. The medium lowered her head, her face hidden in shadow, and spoke in a voice not of a frail old woman, but a deep, authoritative one that sent chills down their spines. The souls of the children have been stolen. They no longer belong to this world. The voice was eerie, ominous, as if coming from a distant realm. The cat-faced woman is the guide. She is the key. Alyssa swallowed hard, her eyes full of concern. Camilla, standing beside her, trembled uncontrollably. The medium slowly raised her head, her eyes now glowing as if possessed by an otherworldly being. Be careful. She has chosen her next victim, and that victim is very close. The air in the room became suffocating and full of dread. Alyssa stood frozen, her heart pounding in her chest. Camilla, with a trembling voice, tried to regain her composure after the medium's grim prophecy. She choked out, What must I do to save my son? How can I bring him back?" The medium, with glowing eyes and her face still in shadow, spoke in the same deep voice as though it came from another world. "At midnight tonight, exactly at midnight, you must carry cattail grass and a round object. These will protect you from the entity's attack. Then head west to the barren fields at the edge of the city, where the entity awaits." Camilla's heart seemed to stop as she heard every word. She stammered, "Cattail grass, a round object. Why?" The medium didn't answer, only nodded slowly and gave one final warning. "Be careful. Don't be deceived. The entity will use every trick to manipulate you, just as it did with previous victims. Only at that time, exactly at midnight, will you have a chance to confront it." A chill ran down Camilla's spine. Alyssa, standing next to her, could feel the fear thick in the air. "Are you sure?" Alyssa asked, her voice full of doubt. Is this really the way to help her find her son? The medium didn't respond, only repeated the warning. "At midnight, be ready, and don't look back." Her last words echoed in Alyssa's mind, like a terrifying omen of what awaited them in the darkness of the night. Alyssa and Camilla quickly thanked the medium after the tense and mysterious séance. Neither dared to linger in the incense-filled house, full of eerie smoke and dread, and they hurriedly left. Meanwhile, at the police station, Ash received word from his colleagues that they had finished extracting camera footage from the areas where the children had gone missing. As he reviewed the tapes, Ash's blood ran cold when he noticed something chilling. In all the recent disappearances, including after Camilla's son vanished, there was an image of a woman lingering nearby. And that woman was none other than Camilla. Worry surged within him, and he quickly called Alyssa to warn her, but her phone was unreachable. Detective Ash suddenly recalled his morning conversation with Alyssa, when she mentioned visiting a medium for help. Suspecting something unusual, he asked a colleague to look up the address of Lynn Lambert, the well-known medium in Lynx district. While speeding toward Lynx, Ash's phone rang. His colleague informed him that they had found the medium's address, but there was something strange. The house had been abandoned for years, and Lynn Lambert had been missing for a long time, with no trace of her. Ash slammed on the brakes by the side of the road, his heart pounding. He stared at his phone, a flood of chaotic thoughts rushing through his mind. If the house has been abandoned for years, then who did Alyssa and Camilla meet? Who performed the ritual to find Camilla's son? The thought sent a chill down Ash's spine. Everything now seemed more obscure and suspicious than ever. Ash couldn't believe that Alyssa had really gone to such a place, or if it was all just a misunderstanding. "Damn it!" Ash cursed, slamming his fist on the steering wheel. He immediately called Alyssa again, but still, there was no signal. A sense of dread enveloped him, and he decided not to wait any longer. He started the car and sped toward the medium's house. When he arrived, Detective Ash entered the abandoned house, the air thick with a strange, cold darkness. His flashlight's beam swept across the dust-covered walls, and the house was so silent that Ash could hear his own footsteps echo. He called out, but there was no response. Suddenly, from the corridor leading to the basement, there was a faint sound, like something being dragged. Ash's heart raced as he cautiously approached, taking careful steps. The door to the basement was ajar, and his flashlight illuminated the moss-covered stairs. When he reached the bottom, Ash froze in shock at the sight of a dry skeleton lying in the middle of the floor. The skeleton was covered in dust, as if it had been there for a long time. But what terrified Ash most was that the skeleton's hand seemed to be tightly clutching something, as if the person had held onto it until their dying breath.